Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for turning up on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. We thought there was going to be nobody here, so we haven't done any work. Thanks very much. I'm Chris Clarke. I'm Chief Creative Officer of LBI, and this is my colleague.
I'm Lorenzo Wood. I was one of the founding partners of LBI, and I'm a computer scientist. And if you are twittering, can you please use RIPCD as a hashtag so we can find you afterwards?
So, look, we're here to talk about the death of the creative director. This creative director feels like death at the moment because I was running up and down the Croisette late last night singing Bruce Springsteen lyrics and drinking lots of rosé, so go easy on me. Look, we're here to talk about, I guess, a subject that has been perhaps in some ways talked about already, which is that everything's changing. It's a picture of the British leaving India. So the industry, of course, has changed dramatically in the last few years. And the great news about turning up at 10 o'clock this morning is that if you've missed all of the other speeches that have been done at Cannes over the last 5 years, this is basically a digest of all of those. So we're going to say everything that these guys have already said. And in fact, actually everything that will probably be said in this conference over the next few days as well. So it's tried and tested ground. So look, what we know is that we're reliably informed that we're in the age of global conversations, connected mavens, interrogating the hive mind, loading our RSS readers with the rich food of the cloud, whatever that means, and other similar bollocks. And actually, those of you who know Seth Godin, this is such as the man's ego that he's created an action figure of himself. And so this is a Seth Godin action figure before you here. So, yes, it's the age of narrowcast, branded utility, complex media fragmentation. And I guess the reason why Lorenzo and I are here on the same stage is that we believe that technology has jumped into bed with creativity. And thankfully, we're not sharing a hotel room at the moment. So all of a sudden, collaboration is the order of the day. And I guess if there's a kind of red thread running through this presentation, I think it's that particular change that we're going to address in what we're talking about. This is the D&AD jury from a couple of years ago, collaborating quite nicely with each other there. That sense of collaboration has created a problem for the old notion of the creative director. And I suppose, look, I mean, when you do a speech at Cannes, you have to come up with a very exciting title to get people to get out of their beds on a Sunday morning. I suppose the subtext here is that we're talking about the rebirth of the creative director in a way. So what is the role for the creative director? So I hope that we'll answer that question. So the traditional creative director is known for some quite robust behaviour. So I think it's Trevor Beatty that's quite known for throwing chairs at people. Jumping out of windows, I think it was George Lewis who pioneered that form of behaviour when working on the Matzos account in the 60s. There's a creative director who will remain nameless who used to just lock himself in the room and watch the cricket at this time of year when people were queuing up outside for work to be signed off. And as a creative director of the modern age, I'm quite seduced by that idea. It would be lovely to be able to carry on like that. Unfortunately, things have changed. And certainly, creative directors are having to be a little bit more engaged with the business and perhaps professionally kind of focused than they were of old. There's definitely something seductively simple about the old marketing and its all-powerful TVC. You know, the notion that you already know what you're going to do when you sit down with a brief is quite nice and quite reassuring, actually, for a lot of people. But unfortunately, that's changed. And so, you know, we genuinely wish that it was that simple now. But as a digital agency, of course, we'd be tub thumpers for the new way of working. But really, you know, it would be great if things hadn't changed. They just have. That's the problem. So it's an awful lot, certainly an awful lot easier to do this job if you've got a kind of predefined solution in mind. We've created a little film for today because it's Sunday morning and it's very difficult for us to stand here under the lights and talk all the way through. We've got a few films that allow us all to relax. So I'm just going to play this to you and it will show you what we're talking about.
This is the story of what they call the good old days of advertising. It all begins with a product which somebody somewhere thinks people will want. It's the job of the marketing department to make sure they do want it. Or rather, it's the job of the marketing department to get into ad agencies and make people want it. This involves a detailed briefing and many hours of hard graft. The creative leader is always keen to be involved at this early stage, and though with pressure on his time, he's often to be found hard at work on another brief. Insight is the source of all great work, so a rewarding dialogue with the planning department ensues. A good creative director can always be relied upon to nurture young talent. Whilst the creative work is progressing, the agency account man keeps the client informed of progress. The work of developing the campaign is evenly distributed amongst the agency's most talented teams, based purely on ability. A production house and director are then sought out, and the shoot takes place in a location suitable for the idea. Meanwhile, at the media agency, careful consideration is given to the media plan, and an innovative way of reaching the audience is always found. The power of advertising was such that it seemed to be possible to sell anything, and the rewards for the creative director were many and various. It seemed like the dream would go on forever and ever.
Well, that certainly is the familiar old world, isn't it? Very linear, very comfy, very predictable.